Antonio Conte. He says what he wants. And finally, after all these years, we hear the truth. We hear the truth. Now, you might not like hearing what Conte is saying, and you might be thinking to yourself, he's just chucking the players under the bus and blah, 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 and he's taking no responsibility. Personally, I think he is taking responsibility. I think he's trying to take some responsibility. He's trying to point out, but you can't. You're one person. You're a manager. You're one person trying to sort out all the woes of 20 years of this kind of attitude. So, for me, I think it's a breath of fresh air. Now, if you're asking me, does this mean the end of Antonio Conte? Yeah, I absolutely think it does. I think, basically, we're in a situation now where he's chucked the club under the bus. He's chucked the players under the bus. He's told them that essentially you can change the manager every 18 months. But basically you're not fixing the rot that lives within the club. The attitude of, it don't matter. It's Tottenham, this is what we do. There's no pressure on us. It's okay to just get top four. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. You don't want to challenge for anything. You don't want to challenge for honours. You don't really want to invest where you need to invest. You don't want to bring in the top quality players that you've got, that you want. And the players that you've got do not want to put in the hard work and the attitude and have the right mentality to become winners. Now, I'm not sure that any of us have not said something very, very similar in pubs, in clubs, in conversation, in YouTube videos even, on Twitter, on Facebook, in WhatsApp groups, all that kind of stuff. We're all saying this, aren't we? We're all moaning about the lack of desire. And he's calling out a lack of desire. We all talk about players playing as if they don't know each other. He's calling it out. 11 players, 11 individuals not working as a one unit, as a team. So for me, this isn't a shock. It's a breath of fresh air. It's finally putting it out there, what we've wanted to hear, what we wanted to know. Now, this might be a hard fact for someone like Daniel Levy and the board to accept. It might be a difficult one for them to kind of go, okay, maybe we do need to take a bit of responsibility. Maybe we do need to change it. I doubt it, because Tottenham Hotspur is a cash cow. The ground and all the associated stuff with it is enough for them to keep going on and keep going on. The Tottenham Hotspur football team is just another finger in another pie. It's nothing important to them. They make out it is because they play on our tribalism, our addiction, our love for the club. They play on that because they know you're going to keep paying. And once you've started to support a club, you're always going to be there. And I know we hear this term all the time about tourists and all the rest of it. These are tourists that come to the club because they want to see the club. They might want to come and see Sonny or whoever. But essentially, once they're hooked on that club, they're hooked on that club, and that's how you stay. So tourists are just other fans that don't get to go as often as maybe the season ticket holders or the regulars who live close enough to be able to make this journey. And there's lots of us that live far away that still make this journey. I mean, I know guys that come from America or Malta and Cyprus and Sweden and all these places all around just to come and watch the team. And they might not come every week, but they come as often as they can. There's guys that fly over every week from Ireland and places like that. I mean, that's, you can't call them tourists, they're proper fans. But ultimately, they had to start somewhere. So the club will always do that. They'll always have an abundance of people that are prepared to come and support the club. But it's refreshing to actually hear someone finally come out and say what we've all been thinking. Ultimately, is it nice to hear? No, of course not. Is it good to hear that your players are not committed? No, of course not. And some of them players are going to be well pissed off to hear it. But that's how you feel. We're standing in the stadium yesterday watching our team capitulate, from being 3-1 up to ending up a 3-3 draw. And it could have been worse. So, you can't. I can understand why he's angry. I can understand why he's upset. I've been upset. We've all been upset about it. We're all moaning, and this is diabolical, crap football, and all the rest of it. And he has to take responsibility. Antonio Conte has to take responsibility. If we'd have won that game yesterday, I'll put it like this: if we'd have won that game yesterday, we wouldn't have been talking about how poor the football was. We'd have been gone. It's another 3 points in the bag. Keeps the pressure on Liverpool and Newcastle. We're still in the top 4. We march on to the next one. It might not be pretty, but we're still grinding out results. That old terminology, right? We'll still be saying that. That's what we'd have been saying. But today, instead, we're talking about a capitulation of going from 3-1 up to 3-3, almost losing it if it wasn't for the goalkeeper who had a great game, which is frustrating in itself. Your goalkeeper is having your best game for you, and you still end up drawing. I understand it. I understand where Conte's coming from, and I think he's right. I'm sorry, but and some people will go, he can't be doing that. He works for the club, and all. And I haven't. At this point, I've got to say this, right? At this point, I haven't taken on anybody else's views. I haven't listened to any other podcasts. I haven't read Twitter or any of those things, right? This is literally after just watching the video. So I've watched the video of Antonio Conte, and I'm giving my honest view, my personal honest view. So you don't have to agree with me. That's absolutely fine. And I'm sure there will be people out there that will have the same view as you, whatever your view might be, pro, con, whatever it is, someone out there will agree with you for sure. So I can only give you my view of how I feel about it. And if Antonio Conte makes it to the end of the week, next week, I'll be shocked because I don't think the club will like the criticism. But as a fan, I think the criticism is absolutely 100% justified. And I think the club need to seriously think about it, because the point he's making is it can't always be the manager. It can't always be the coach. You've got coaches out there that have won a multitude of awards in all different countries all over the world, and including the Premier League. We've had managers that have won the Premier League title, Antonio Conte being one of them. So we've had some of the best coaches around, successful coaches, that can't turn this team into a winning team. Bear in mind, Jose Mourinho, the only club he never won anything at is Tottenham. Antonio Conte, the only club he's never won anything at is Tottenham. So, and these are considered at their time two of elite managers in the world, and they can't get a tune out of these players. So there has to be something deeply wrong in there. Now, Antonio Conte has his problems in terms of his system that he uses or whatever. But if you've got a defence that you can rely on, then you can play that sort of system. If you've got players who can cross the ball, if you've got players who can attack, bear in mind you've got players like Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. I don't know, he's not playing particularly well, right, this season. But you've got these two players. Kulusevski, one of the brightest upcoming stars. Bentancur, Bissouma. We haven't bought all shit players. We're having a problem with injuries. I get that. But at the end of the day, like he said, the players that you've got, and I think we'd all agree this, the players that we put out against Sheffield United, for instance, were good enough to beat that team of youngsters. Bearing in mind, they were going through their own injury crisis at this time. But there was no desire to do so. There was no fire in their eyes, is what you said. And you can't argue with that. You can go back and look at everybody's YouTubes and that, and they'll all go, We should have, and I said it, we should have put our best team out first, win the game, then take them off, and all the rest. Show some respect for the thing and all the rest of it. But in the modern game, this is about a squad. It's not just about the 11. So your squad should be strong enough. Now, had this been a Premier League team that we were playing, I'd have said absolutely, it can happen. You know, sometimes any team can beat any team on its day and so on, right? But this is Sheffield United in the Championship. You're telling me these players are not good enough to beat them? It's rubbish. It's nonsense. And we called that out. You should have had the first team out there, kill the game, then rest the players. But at the same time, we also called out a lack of desire, a lack of effort, a lack of fire to actually win the game. And when you go to the Milan game, you look at the Milan game, again, I'm looking, I said in the car on the way up to the game yesterday, I felt like we were playing like we were 3-0 up. And Nigel, who was sat with me, he said, you wouldn't have believed that we needed to score a goal. Because there was an absolute lack of effort and a lack of fire and a lack of attitude to really go at it and win that game. And so we get what we get. We get what we expect. So, Antonio Conte, again, I applaud you for your honesty. I'm sure the £15 million you've earned or the £30 million you've earned over the last couple of years will be great consolation whilst you're sitting in some big villa or mansion somewhere, drinking your fine wine and eating your fine foods to comfort you when you are moved on. And as I say, I think that's a dot on the card. So, likely scenario, in comes Ryan Mason. Ryan does a job till the end of the season, and then we're on the hunt for the next victim who's going to come in, spend 18 months, full of the joys of, this is a great squad, we've got enough people, the facilities are fantastic, all that old cobblers, to be talking about the same thing in 18 months' time. Uncertainty about the coach ain't helping the team and, all this kind of stuff. And if we are, we are. But if we ain't, it will be because Tottenham have had to do something different. And if they have to do something different, it will be on the back of these comments from Antonio Conte, who's calling them out and making them take responsibility, their responsibility. And it will be interesting to see what kind of responses we get from any of the players in terms of how they feel about what's being said, because they will be asked that question. So it'll be interesting to see their view of it. But listen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. We are where we are. I'll be glad when this season's over. And like I said in previous videos, top 4, top 5, top 6, it makes no difference. I don't believe that we are anywhere near a team good enough for the Champions League. We'll go in it with an expectation of going out and just putting some more money in the back pocket of Mr. Levy and co. But there you go. That's modern football for you. Anyway, like, subscribe, share. Thanks very much. Up the Spurs.